Humans of the cardboard, welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today we're covering some pretty big news. We kind of knew we were in this time frame of when we should expect to get the next structure deck announced, and it probably will be the only one for this calendar year. And here it is. It's called Power of the Fellow, and it appears that it's like a YUSEI FUDO structure deck. I don't know exactly what that means because I know he messes around with some junk cards. I know he messes around with a lot of the Synchron cards, Stardust stuff. My guess is going to be some kind of tie in to all of those. I don't think it would necessarily be any one thing, but let's read through these details here. So, structure deck Power of the Fellow. Gathering stars call forth a new power. Become the path that lights the way. Synchro summon. Come, Junk Warrior. That makes sense. Junk Warrior is his like first boss monster he goes into. Eventually, Stardust is like really his main boss monster, and then he goes into even bigger ones from there, bigger forms. This is a pre-constructed structure deck centered around synchro summoning, like the protagonist of the animated series Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds, Yusei Fudo. That's cool. Again, they don't specifically state junk, synchron, stardust, but my guess is that it'll be a little bit of all of those, and they'll tie together. Um, I would think if there are any cards that he used that even weren't didn't even fall into that. I know at some point in the anime they do this all the time, where like a character, even though they play a certain type of deck, they randomly play like a one-off card. It'll be random. Um, What's the one guy? What's his name? He's the guy with like 900 attack, and it's like the first turn you summon him, he can go to 1800. That I think Yusei plays. Like that would be the perfect kind of card that I just Sonic Chick I think is another one that like I associate with Yusei. So like if they made a new version that just is revamped and actually like a playable card in this new structure deck, I think that would make a ton of sense. All right, anyway, this deck contains 8 new cards. This is not new. This is standard stuff for structure decks these days. And 5 of those 8 new cards are included in the Light of Gathering Stars pack as super rare or higher foils. There's a chance you might pull a card in Prismatic Secret Rare. Cool. That's really nice. It gives these structure decks just a little bit more oomph where you can pull like a really nice rarity of one of the cards, which is cool. The release date for the OCG is going to be September 6th. This is going to be on a pretty similar timeline, it's looking like, to last year with the Blue Eye structure deck. So September 6th for them. That means for us, we're going to be probably looking at it maybe December, but maybe a little more likely January timeline on that. But yeah, it's really exciting stuff. I mean, I'll probably have to make a video soon, talk like actually going into 8 new cards. Where do they even go with this? This is a very scary structure deck. I will say that when the Blue Eyes one got announced, I was like, that's cool. Blue Eyes needs it. This archetype's scary because like this junk speeder, this guy, this crazy synchro monster that just summons like infinity synchron tuners from your deck immediately, and then you're just able to synchro climb like crazy. It leads to like hand ripping a bunch and making multiple powerful like synchro boss monsters. At least like stuff like Barone and Savage are gone. So as far as those being generic synchro tools for Omni negates, those are gone, but they still have plenty of solid payoffs, I would assume, at this point. Crimson Dragon still exists, stuff like that. So it's a weird place. This deck is just scary. It was pretty good a couple formats ago when Duelist Nexus came out and they got Revolution Synchron and the other cards they got in that structure deck. I don't even remember all of them off the top of my head, but I know Rev was one of the good ones. That deck was like a playable higher tier contender. You'd play it with like the adventure engine because they don't really use any effects on normal summon, and they'd get into junk speeder, they'd protect their plays, and they'd hand rip you for a bunch or make a crazy board. The deck was legit, and we're not that far removed from that. We're less than 2 years removed from that at this point. So just a little scary. I'm not saying it's bad, because they can totally make new support that is good and makes the deck totally playable in 2025, but also make the new cards good and also push them in a different direction where you're not trying to do this insane wombo combo like, hand rip, hand loop, massive board style of play. We'll see. They took Blue Eyes. Blue Eyes had a lot of good tools already to work with, and then they said, we're going to make you into a really cool mid-range strategy. And I love the way Blue Eyes works. So, you know, I don't know exactly where they're going to end up, but there's still a possibility they can still end up in that kind of realm. I would assume they're going to be a little more combo heavy. That's just these synchro strategies have always kind of leaned that way. But I still think, I'm excited, but definitely keeping my distance a little bit, for sure. I was hoping this one would be Cyber Dragon. I was hoping Cyber Dragon would get the structure deck this year, but this is another big name that makes sense, right? If they wanted to kind of follow up Blue Eyes with another popular character, popular archetype, this is one of the ones on the short list that wouldn't necessarily rival Blue Eyes, but would be a solid follow up. It's not going to hit those numbers, I wouldn't think, especially with how competitive Blue Eyes has ended up being. But, you know, this one, Heroes, Cyber Dragon, Dark Magician, like you're already kind of covering a lot of the bases. But in another video, I'll probably go through like the YUSEI cards. Like I said, it might be a little bit awkward, kind of like going through Heroes and like the different facets of Heroes and all the different types and what's playable and what's not. A little bit like that because you're just not sure like how heavy they're going to lean into the uh Stardust stuff. How heavy are they going to lean into the junk stuff? Are they going to lean more into this synchron stuff like we got last time? Because that'd be one thing, right? Because or Junk Speeder is really like the crazy card, and he uses synchrons. Like if they lean away from synchron stuff specifically, then this new support won't be supporting like this insane card going forward. But well, obviously you have to wait and see. So, yeah, that's kind of everything here. We don't really have like actually that much news. It's just the date and the fact that it's YUSEI based, which is still really exciting, but just there's not a ton of details here. So, let me know your thoughts down below if you're a big YUSEI fan and a fan of like the cards that have been in his archetype for the last couple of years. Let me know in the comment section down below. Like, what do you want to see from this support? 8 new cards is a ton. Even looking at Blue Eyes, like they made the Exceed monster, nobody plays it. They made Neo Kaiser Seahorse, which like pure list play, but on the more competitive side, most of those lists don't even play him, really. So you could argue that deck only, or that structure deck only had 6 real cards for that deck. And look at how well it's done since then. So, and you could even argue that Yusei's and the junk, whatever the synchron setup as far as like archetypal cards is potentially just already stronger than Blue Eyes was anyway, even though Blue Eyes maybe has them outnumbered in total quantity of cards. But there are some really high ones. They have a Rhoda, they have crazy extenders like Rev Synchron, they have an insane already central pillar of the archetype in Junk Speeder being a central focal point that just pumps out so much value. They already have a couple of really strong aspects to them. So if they can build around those and just kind of strengthen those and cover up some of the weaknesses, I could easily see this deck being really good again. But we'll have to wait and see as we get closer to that. So, yeah, that's everything I have for today. Thank you so much for watching. As always, guys, subscribe to the channel for more stuff from me down the line. And let me know your thoughts on the structure deck. Love to hear it. Peace.